It's great to be here, and thank you everybody for taking the time. My name is Elliot, and I help out with BD at Sperax. We are certainly here for a specific occasion, which is the launch of Demeter, but I'm also looking around this room at some of the best personalities on Arbitrum, if not the entire crypto space. I'm also seeing a lot of primitive protocols that are going to have a huge impact on DeFi for many years to come. It's exciting to be in the early stages of something, and today will be a lot of fun to just mix it up with fellow Arbitrum maxis. So what is bringing us all together today is to shine some light on the newest product that launched from Sperax called Demeter. As the Sperax community knows, there has been a lot of buildup to this launch, and for good reason. We started the work on Demeter many, many months ago, and we started to build Demeter because as a team, we believe in decentralized, trustless, and permissionless tooling and public goods that allow DeFi ecosystems to thrive. And this is realized in many ways via Demeter. We are now launching Demeter right around some incredibly tumultuous times in crypto, to say the least. But it's also a great reminder why products such as Demeter are so necessary. But I will save some of that talk for later, as I would like to pass the mic around to some of the people on stage with us. We have an amazing crew. To start, it'd be great if we can get a brief introduction from each partner here today. I'll kind of do some introductions and pass the mic around. If each person could just take about 30 seconds to shine a light on their respective protocol, feel free to take time to promote what you guys have going on, because there's always huge things happening in our space. I think we can start with PlutusDAO and the man, or one of the men behind the Trending Down podcast. We get to hear his voice every week and learn a thing or two about being a proper and most distinguished degen. It also informs anything and everything I know about the NFT scene other than hodl GMX blueberries. Ether Soul, welcome.
Incredible intro. I don't think I need to even expand on that. But yeah, here with PlutusDAO, basically a liquid stake derivatives platform. We take, a lot of governance protocols out there have their vote escrow tokens, and we basically aggregate the governance, allow users to essentially have liquid locking, right? And 4 years, crypto's a long time, as we've seen and been reminded of here on a daily basis, it seems. So yeah, Plutus, we basically aggregate governance and build a couple vault products as well. But for Demeter specifically and Sperax, I think we hold about 49% of the governance power right now. So super excited for the launch and ready for spa wars, to be honest.
That's awesome. We are too. Yeah. So the Sperax and PlutusDAO partnership started with the PLS SPA and the governance black hole, and we love working with you guys. Appreciate your partnership on the Demeter launch, and it's awesome. So thanks for that, Ether Soul. Next, let's pass the mic to another epic host. He usually saves his voice for Wednesdays during the watering hodl. His spirit animal is what your iPhone autocorrects to when you're trying to say something else. And I'm pretty sure he holds the most advanced degree of anyone on stage. Low Poly Duck, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, sir. Oh, and what a pleasure it is to be introed myself. Usually I'm the one doing the intro, so this is truly an excellent change of pace. I'll start with Saddle, ladies and gentlemen. Saddle is first and foremost a DAO dedicated to open sourcing DeFi primitives. Okay, we want to make sure that DeFi stays free and accessible to everyone, no matter what. Okay, our first product is, of course, our very well-known stable swap implementation written in Solidity. Now, I always tout this spiel, so excuse me if it sounds a little bit practiced. Up to now, our contracts have facilitated over $2.2 billion in volume. And here at Saddle, we like to brag that that number is our implementation alone. Okay, our focus on open sourcing everything we do means that we end up being one of the most forked protocols by TVL in history, right? I think at this time, our forks hold over $300 million, if that's correct. Yes, it is. And while most are stable swap dexes, just like we are, our contracts, as it turns out, have actually been instrumental in bridge research, right? Cross-chain bridge research. It's a bit of an open secret that both Hop and Synapse are Saddle forks, okay? Two pretty interesting and unique approaches to the problem. We're extremely proud of the work that's been done on our shoulders. And we try our best to make sure it continues. So if you're into blockchain, but like really into it, division of it, come be a bandit. Okay, hop in the Discord and hang out with me. I'll tell you some jokes. I'll send you some duck gifts, straight up boomer style. That's my style. And I'm sure I can show this here now, according to that intro. But every Wednesday at 12 EST on Saddle's Twitter, we do the Watering Hodl 2. Okay, it's an absolute blast. We hear a little story. I tell a joke or two. We play some games. It's a lot of fun. Come hang out and learn. So I do want to note, though, we are a little bit slower over here. Stable swap pairs, as we know, aren't the giant 100x opportunity you might see in some more exotic pair offerings. But slow and steady wins the race, right? If you're anything like me, you'll love it over there. Come check us out.
Thank you, Lopali. Appreciate it. Yes, good plug on the Watering Hodl. It is an experience, man. You do such a good job with that. So awesome. Next intro was a little bit more difficult for me because how exactly do you introduce the absolute top dog of Arbitrum? These men are helping operate the protocol of all protocols. The reason that I hit compound every morning and the reason all my friends are screening my daily text messages that say, oh my God, did you see what GMX did in fees today? The one and only Frediger and CoinFlip. How are you guys doing?
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys just want to, not that we really need an intro to GMX, but for community members who may not be aware, if you guys wouldn't mind just taking a moment to talk about your protocol.
Sure. CoinFlip, did you want to,
No, why don't you take it away, Frediger?
Yeah. So GMX is the premier future perpetuals and swap dex on Arbitrum. We launched about a little bit over a year ago now. So pretty much with the start of Arbitrum, we've been around ever since. And we just are very happy to be around. Great company with a lot of, other smart people and great projects doing a lot of great things on Arbitrum.
Love it. Appreciate it, Frediger. Next, we have some new kids on the block who really aren't that new at all. Their pending launch on Arbitrum is underway, and the hype has been phenomenal. Sperax has been working closely with these guys on a few different initiatives, and it all starts with their token migration that they will be doing via Demeter. We first met them at Mainnet in some seedy bar in New York, surrounded by a bunch of Arbitrum chads. Dan and Travis from Vela, welcome, guys.
What's going on, guys?
Thanks for being here.
Hey.
Do you guys just want to go through a little bit? I know where to start with you guys. There's a lot, but just give us a little overview of what you guys are working on.
Yeah, absolutely. CD bar was an understatement. I think it took us like 10 minutes just to find the bar once we were on the street, but it was good we went there, and definitely awesome to meet you guys in real life and get to partner on such an awesome launch. Yeah, we are the new kids on the block. You're right. We'll have to intro ourselves a bit more than GMX. But we are a perpetual protocol launching on Arbitrum very soon. We are in the midst of a very successful private alpha with about 50, 60 of our closest partners and community members, and have really just built a platform from the ground up to support the strongest trading management and asset kind of long and short probabilities in the space. So super excited to launch and share more about us, but I'll pass it over to Travis for a quick intro as well.
Yeah, no, really excited to be here. If you guys want to check us out, it's just Vela.exchange for those of you who haven't been following. A perpetual platform launching on Arbitrum, and we're just really excited to be here. Even I like to say even a year and a half, 2 years ago, this wasn't possible, but with L2s like Arbitrum, really we can build really great things that are fast and cheap. So love the groundwork that GMX has laid, and we're excited to launch on Arbitrum and give it a go. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Super happy to have you guys. Appreciate you guys participating in Demeter, doing the token migration via Demeter. I think it's going to be a huge hit with the community. And I see that Exosphere just entered. Exo, is your mic on? I just pulled you up on stage. I mean, I might have to read Weston's intro even though he's not here, just because I'm kind of proud of it. Yeah, we'll see if I can get Exo up on stage. I might as well intro the man that actually requires no introduction to the Sperax community, because he deadlifts 100 pounds. He deadlifts 400 pounds. Hey, All right, cool. Hey, Exo, can I maybe introduce you as Weston, but we'll just know that you're not Weston?
I'll pretend like I'm Weston, but I'm not.
Okay, perfect. So let me see if I can find my notes. I apologize. Oh, I can't find it. I can't find the intro. I apologize. Exo, thank you for being here. Weston is snoozing, and so he has to miss out on the spaces. But we appreciate you being here last moment and representing the Layer 2 DAO. If you wouldn't mind just kind of giving us an idea of what's going on in your parts.
Yeah, Layer 2 DAO. We've been around. We launched in January. We're really focused on promoting the Layer 2 ecosystem, particularly the Ethereum Layer 2 ecosystem. So Arbitrum, of course, is a big part of that. So we've been partnering with a lot of projects, promoting a lot of projects. Sperax has been a great partner, and we've been really excited to be part of this cohort, this launch cohort, because we think that your Demeter protocol is a complete game changer, not just for Layer 2, but for the Ethereum ecosystem. So great to have this cutting edge piece of technology live on Arbitrum first. We are excited to see you roll it out on other L2s in the future. But we've been obviously we've been beta testing it with our own L2DAO USDs pool for the last few months. It's been working fantastic. So we're so excited to see this roll out to the remainder of the ecosystem.
Yeah, I love it. And Layer 2 DAO has been, the genesis of Genesis partner for us on this. So, they've been working with us for many months, and we appreciate that greatly. And we look forward to continue to working with them in many avenues, not just Demeter alone. So last, I would like to intro, like I said, the man that needs no intro because he deadlifts 400 pounds. You can check the receipts on TikTok. He is a card-carrying member of the 300-pound bench press club. He dresses like Jay-Z. If you ask him about the markets, he will tell you the bottom is in, and he just went 30x long ETH. Our lovable DGen, Alec. Alec, thanks for being here.
Wow, you're really hitting on the important stuff, I see.
Trying to.
Well, thank you for that intro. And the weightlifting stuff, I don't know if that's true, but the delusional bullishness, 100% true. So anyways, I can introduce Sperax really fast because most people here are already very familiar. But what Sperax is a development shop that builds open source protocols. Our first open source protocol, which was a 100% backed auto yielding stablecoin called USDs, that launched almost a year ago. So we've been extremely committed to the Arbitrum ecosystem ever since day one. But the reason everyone's here today is our most recent protocol that we just brought to market, which is called Demeter. And as you all know, Demeter is a no-code, decentralized exchange liquidity manager. So it will actually automate your engineering, your marketing, and your financial components of managing your decentralized liquidity. That way, your end users aren't forced to subject themselves to centralized exchanges. So we just learned again this last couple of weeks how important not your keys, not your coins truly is. So we are really passionate about delivering tools that make it even easier for DeFi and NFT founders to get sufficient DEX liquidity, and that way their users don't have to go to centralized exchanges.
Yeah, that's perfect, Alex. So let me pull on a thread there a little bit and kind of follow up with a question that's along those lines while you have the floor. I mentioned earlier about building important public goods like Demeter that are decentralized and belong in the infrastructure of systems that are permissionless and trustless. Lots of people are thinking about self-custody these days, and that's a huge part of the decentralized infrastructure. But so are ways for DAOs to have a liquid token, not on a centralized platform, and for communities to be able to access this liquidity independently and without gatekeepers. Could you just briefly explain how Demeter fits into this decentralized ethos?
Yeah, for sure. So just like from a business side of things, first off, if you want to get your token liquid on a centralized exchange, first off, you need anywhere between $500,000 or $1 million in cash to pay these companies, and then maybe you'll get listed. So that alone already has its own conflict of interest and its own kind of like questionable ethics. So just assuming that that wasn't even an issue and say, we only wanted to do decentralized liquidity as a founder, it's still not easy for even deep, well-experienced DeFi founders and builders to actually successfully build a concentrated liquidity farm. And then once it's built, actually effectively design economic incentives and market it in such a way that people deposit liquidity into that pool. So just if you even want decentralized exchange liquidity, oftentimes it's not as easy as it sounds to even, get that experience for your end users. So we really want to be here as a public good and, kind of help people use our tools to provide the decentralized exchange experience for their users. But we don't want to, per se, ever custody anyone's capital. We don't want to own any sort of special privileges in the ecosystem. We simply want to build the tools, build guides to help use the tools, and ultimately just make them publicly accessible for anyone to leverage and really avoid those questionable actors in the centralized ecosystems.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. As people up on stage all operate protocols in crypto, we're very used to hearing things like win listing. And although that's relevant, it can sometimes irk us a little bit. And maybe that's something that we just won't hear as much anymore going forward, right? Maybe people will just learn that, DEXs like Saddle and products like Demeter are just kind of the way to go. So I'd like to pick some other brains as well, not necessarily regarding Demeter specifically, but just maybe a temperature check on how we're doing as an industry in regards to building decentralized infrastructure. Exosphere, don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have any thoughts on just how we're doing as an industry regarding building this decentralized infrastructure?
Yeah, I think from a technological perspective, we've been doing amazing. It's the big Cambion moment of the DeFi summer of 2020 just continues on. We just have so much innovation in the space, so many new protocols, so many new ideas, and it just keeps exploding. It's amazing. The biggest challenge I see is still the user experience. And it's why centralized exchanges keep getting so much traffic and so much business, because people just don't understand how to self-custody, how to interact with smart contracts, and how to do that safely. And that, I think, is really the biggest hurdle over the next 5 years as to how do we make this decentralized infrastructure accessible to the average user. And custody is something that people are familiar with. Everybody custodies, I don't know if that's the right term, puts their money in banks in TradFi. And so people are used to that. So they want to do the same thing with crypto. It might take an entire generational shift of a new generation of humans to really fully accept that you have to not your keys, not your crypto paradigm, and that you just have to self-custody. But that could be years. So in the meantime, we got to figure out how do we make this transition for the average user who's used to their bank account super smooth, super easy, and safe. That's, I think, the biggest hurdle.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. I think we as industry people sometimes take for granted how confusing some of these systems can be at first look and how quickly that can scare people off. Low Poly Duck, I'm curious, you guys are hard at work building, exactly what we're talking about at Saddle. Just curious your thoughts on kind of the current decentralized infrastructure and how we're doing as an industry.
Yeah, this is something I'm actually pretty passionate about. I always talk about the innovation zone, right? It's that last 10% that you need to make an idea real. Most of the work you need to do in order to solve any given problem has already been done for you, right? Especially if you're an engineer or just a builder in general, right? It's just that last 10% you need to fill out. That's the innovation zone there. That's where you make your mark. If your project needs DEX features, for example, even really advanced ones, deploying and modifying the Saddle repo is a breeze. Okay, I don't know if any of you have had the displeasure of looking into the DAI repo, but and I'm a DAI max. I love DAI, and this is me saying this. It's an absolute mess over there. Okay, sure, everything is there, but you have to work really hard to know what the hell is going on. So we believe here that clarity and ease are just as important to the creative workflow as availability is, right? Or more so. It's not enough to just pop the info up. Sometimes you need to assume that the people reading could be 100 200, 1,000 years out, right? And they might need a hand to understand. So our stable swap implementation, and hopefully this is a trend we see continuing in the industry, seeks to be fully featured, easy to read, and I think we stand at this time to be the most malleable and deployable stable swap repo in history, right? And that's the really, really important part. Okay, I think until now we've seen that the majority of people actually might not care at all much about how free and accessible the code bases of their applications are. Okay, people even to this day will just hop on Facebook and share some copy pasta about how Zuck can't use their data and think that's good enough. Okay, they don't even know they want the right to look at the code, which sucks, right? And institutional money has the same problem, I think. Things like FTX will keep happening as long as we try to walk some blurry line between centralized and decentralized. Everyone wants to have their cake and eat it too. They want the gains and the innovation of crypto, but they want that sort of assurance that their regulatory ignorance is there to protect their investments, right? They don't want to commit fully to anon open source because it's just too much responsibility. They'd be totally accountable if anything went wrong. They couldn't cry to an entity over them and pass the bucket off to their investors. So while I do agree that internally, I think we're doing a great job of pushing why we need open source, why we need this full responsibility movement. It's just that at this point, internal, right? No one's listening yet. No one knows they care except for us, except those of us already here, already using it. So it's a responsibility thing, I think. And I hate to be pessimistic, very unduck-like of me, but we need to show them why they need it, right? Why it's important if we ever expect them to care at all. And that's not easy. I mean, have you ever had a conversation about blockchain with the average social media user? It's just headline after headline spewed back at you. If you tell someone you work in crypto right now, they just assume you invest for a living, okay? They assume that's the only job there is here. They don't even know what we're trying to do. And I guess that's why we're lucky we have spaces like this, eh? We're doing our best to help people understand, right? The industry is doing a fine job, but I think they just don't bring me on enough of their podcasts. What do you think about that? More duck or not?
Totally more duck. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can never have enough duck. Yeah, I totally I resonate with everything you just said. And I think too that it's exciting to know that this stuff is bubbling under the surface, right? We're not there yet, but we have a lot of smart people that are working on it. And it makes progress whether the Bitcoin price is high or whether the Bitcoin price is low. So, it's launches like Demeter and other products that just continue to say, hey, people are delivering even in the darkest of times. And I think one strong example of on-chain decentralized infrastructure is GMX. And we've seen volumes explode over the past week. And it's had a pretty clear trend line up and to the right anyway. But CoinFlip or Frediger, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the industry as a whole and how we're doing with on-chain, trustless, verifiable systems.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting past couple of days. So, I mean, I guess like the first thing I'll say is, right, the whole not your keys, not your tokens has been once again validated with the FTX SBF debacle, right? And so that kind of reemphasizes the importance of DeFi. But when the importance of DeFi is emphasized, right, then once again, we start looking at things that are important to DeFi, such as, smart contract structure, tokenomics, the team behind something like that. And so we just feel that essentially where we are at with GMX, we just have to keep essentially building and kind of leading by example. So with this recent debacle, we have seen kind of an increase of volume for the platform, which is good for us. Anticipate that for the future as people kind of realize that centralized exchanges are still figuring out how to be centralized exchange, since, right, there currently isn't a lot of regulation in that space. A lot of people are starting to realize that, DeFi protocols, permissionless protocols on the blockchain kind of offer those certain guarantees that centralized exchanges can't, right? On-chain reserves that can be verified, pricing that can kind of be verified on-chain as well. So we've been kind of taking that in stride. And part of that has been also just anticipating the improvements that we've, already been kind of like keeping note to ourselves. So part of that is, thinking about how moving forward we're going to, improve things like price speeds or whatnot, especially considering the fact that, right now, right, price feeds in many ways are aggregated from centralized exchanges. So that's going to be an interesting problem moving forward, right? Is like, how do we start to create market making instances that are kind of, I mean, it's hard to say that they're isolated from like centralized exchanges, but like ideally, right, that would be the goal for DeFi, right? Is to kind of have a market making phenomenon entirely kind of separate from like what centralized exchanges are doing, right? So that's kind of what's been on the mind of just GMX contributors, right? Just like, how do we improve DeFi while working within the hard limits of DeFi, right? So that's kind of like where our mind's been at. But it's been interesting. It's been good in the sense, like I said, that people moving away from those centralized exchanges are, you know, driving traffic to things like Gains Network, DYDX, GMX, and so really, like I said from the beginning, at this point, we really are just trying to continue building, kind of continue anticipating that growing momentum as the exodus continues, and just making sure that, you know, we're on the cutting edge of that DeFi technology. So it's a really exciting time. It's a very interesting time. It's a very, admittedly, right, nerve-wracking, because these are the times where we end up being pushed forward to those new horizons that we always kind of have in the back of our mind but never really think about. So yeah, I'm just very lucky to be here with the group, you know, be a part of the contributors for the GMX project, and like I said, you know, just really looking forward to continue building with the rest of the Arbitrum ecosystem. You know, one thing we've really loved about it is through thick or thin, the Arbitrum ecosystem has just seemed to be really bent on continuing collaborations, continuing that kind of familiar and benign relationships. And I think that will ultimately be the key to Arbitrum's success, and therefore, you know, any kind of worthwhile and serious project that builds on Arbitrum.
Yeah, I totally agree. I appreciate those thoughts. And, you know, what you said about Arbitrum is so true. There's so many protocols that are partnering, and lots of intertwining of what people are doing and working together behind the scenes. And we see that at times when people have product launches or different announcements are made, but there's so much going on behind the scenes that's so exciting, and that everybody is really supporting each other, which is awesome. And, you know, as I listen to you speak, we're definitely pulling on some themes. So, you know, we've seen themes such as fees over the summer become really popular, still popular today. Self-custody and on-chain trustless systems now, as we're talking about, are kind of a theme. Curious what some themes may be going forward, maybe into the next bull run. EtherSoul, what are you going to be talking about on trending down in 6 months, 12 months?
We'll be covering it all. Don't you worry about that. But yeah, I put out a thread kind of when GMX started taking off, but I think the fee era is upon us, and to me, fees kind of just scream actual adoption, and so I think that's necessary. In the past, you know, things have been fluffed up and hopes and dreams, but fees show actual usage and adoption to me. So I think the fee era of DeFi is definitely upon us. I'm obviously bullish on liquid stake derivatives. I think, you know, a part of governance is locking tokens, but having a liquid option for users is an absolute must. And then obviously, you know, self-custody, on-chain trading, that goes with GMX and a bunch of the other protocols that are coming out right now. I do think there's probably a ton of room to work on in the wallet space. You know, MetaMask is great, and for people that know it, it's super intuitive and easy, but learning it and figuring it out, it can be scary for a lot of people. And so, you know, I think the for the space to really take that next jump, that kind of the wallet area needs a lot of work. And then if you're forward looking, I think AI probably enters the chat at some point. We'll see how it plays out in DeFi. Maybe it's some sort of like trading strategies on top of these self-custody type exchanges. But again, rest assured, if you tune into Trending Down, I'll definitely be covering it. But, you know, exciting times nonetheless.
Yeah, totally love it. Well, get your seahorses ready so we know if the AI is AI or if it's a bot or whatnot. Yeah, and I totally like one thing that maybe isn't talked about a lot in our circles is how difficult crypto is. Like this stuff is very difficult. We're really working hard at something that is difficult but meaningful. And so, as we mentioned, Arbitrum is still hard at work, and it really is inspiring. And I applaud all those who are undertaking this task because it is not easy. So Sperax just launched Demeter in a bear market at a very tough time, but not everything can go as planned. I'd love to hear from the Vela guys about launching in this environment and the challenges, because this is a super unique situation.
Hey, happy to answer. I just wanted to kind of piggyback off what EtherSoul was saying too. Every day we're like crossing our fingers, praying that better wallet solutions come out. I remember when we were at BCG, Travis and I were working in the consulting world, and a lot of like partners would call us up and they'd be like, hey, how do I set up this like self-custody wallet? And since we were reporting to these partners, we're like sitting there having to walk through them and like screen share or like person to person. I'm like, oh my God, like the things I have to tell these people not to do and like how to maintain was super painful. And like, it was just a perfect case study of even having smart people having problems setting up self-custody and like managing their financials. So definitely hope that the builders out there on the wallet side continue to kind of grind and do their best. And then Fred, I think you had a good point too on the technical kind of limitations of building on chain, right? And it's never black and white. Like a lot of people talk about DeFi, like, hey, everything on chain. And we know that's super, super, super hard and probably not feasible for most of the more complex protocols and platforms. Like an example would be messaging, right? Like if you want alerts sent to your phone or notifications, like push notifications, doing that on chain would be pretty painful. While like doing it on the back end would make a lot of sense, right? So it's always like a gray area, and it's always figuring out like what makes the most sense. Self-custody, of course, as a foundation makes a lot of sense. But there are limitations from like the user experience side that was brought up by someone else. In terms of your question, Elliot, about the challenges of building in a bear market, I think the biggest thing that we faced was morale. And my team always jokes about this, but I'm probably like the most like glass half empty type of person on the team. Like we have a lot of like pretty positive team members that keep the spirits high, but I'll like see something pop up and I'll be like, oh fuck, like not again. And I'll start like typing in team chat. I'm like, okay, don't do that. Even if the information is like, or the rumors are super juicy and they can like be memes, I try to avoid it now because there's a lot of shitty things happening all the time across the world, right? Not just in DeFi. And that the viral nature of like wanting to see negative news cycles and stuff like that is super addicting. So we try to keep the conversations focused on the vision and the product and hang out with the community. But if we do get kind of dragged into the cesspool of like crypto Twitter and seeing the stuff that's happening, we just try to touch on it real quick, talk about it, and then go back to building. And I think that's super important, is to like have that light at the end of the tunnel, right? Like believe in the future of DeFi and like really have the reasons to believe. And that's helped us a lot. I don't know, Travis, if you have any additional comments on that, but I think you've done a great job being a positive voice.
I'm always, giving Dan encouragement when some crazy company in the space makes a huge mistake. No, listen, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. And so I've been in DeFi for as long as it's been called DeFi. And so I've seen the ups and the downs, et cetera. And I see this moment as a huge opportunity, right? I believe one of the guys from GMX was talking about the volume inflows and the increase ever since FTX happened. And I just think this is the same way COVID gave birth to Zoom, right? And it went from 200 million to 2 billion users. I see that, this could be one of the moments, or the moment where DeFi really starts to shine, right? I'm remembering a conversation I was having like 8 months ago with some investor in San Francisco, and he was like, "Why would I use DeFi? I could just use Binance, or I could just use FTX, right?" And this is the perfect example. And I'm a self-custody maximalist, and it's true that we have to continue to improve products all throughout the funnel, from fiat on ramp to wallets, et cetera, right? And I think those improvements are going to come. But in this market, I don't see it as a negative. I see it as a positive, right? This is our opportunity to show why decentralization and self-custody is better and can be just as good as some of the CEX options out there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I tend to be kind of a big picture guy. So, listening to the conversation today, I kind of zoom out and I say, okay, many themes were covered, lots of smart people working on this stuff. Arbitrum's doing a great job of pressing forward and continuing to do things that are meaningful and that are going to bring the space forward, regardless of how assets may be priced. So that makes me super optimistic. And I know we're running over on time and everybody has a lot to get back to. But I wanted to thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for being a partner in the Demeter launch. The farms are live. Deposits are open. Rewards to the farms will begin at 000 UTC on November 22nd. So please head over to demeter.sperax.io to check out the beautiful user interface, see the farms, make your deposits. We truly believe this is a meaningful product for the crypto industry, and we look forward to supporting it for a long time. Also, please check out our awesome partners, GMX, PlutusDAO, Saddle, L2DAO, Vela, and Handle Finance, who couldn't be here today just for time zone reasons. Join their Discord, become a part of their community, and we can all make this thing work together. So with that, I will say thank you once again and sign off. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, everyone.